Hi, No Fear Hippie here is here, and today we are going to see what appears on Dead by Daylight's Facebook. So they were talking about changing Skull Merchant, and Skull Merchant is a killer that's always kind of been near and dear to my heart. Um, I have 6,000 hours playing DBD, about 3,000 hours on Killer, 3,000 hours on Survivor, and probably I would say about 500 to 1,000 hours on Skull Merchant. I've played version 1, version 2, and version 3 Skull Merchant. Um, so I was quite disappointed in version 3 Skull Merchant, and they're asking for feedback of what changes they can do to possibly improve the killer. So I kind of wrote a list. I am a new YouTuber, so I kind of had to write down my thoughts. Okay, so one of the things about, like, let's go into a history of Skull Merchant a little bit. Version 1 was really weak, so only thing she was good at was 3-genning. Version 2 had pretty good game design, although it was not fair up against newer survivors. It was difficult for newer survivors to understand the concept of how to play against Skull Merchant. And version 3 is one of the worst versions of a killer I've ever seen in Dead by Daylight, where they nerfed the killer down into the ground. So I'm happy to see that there's a possibility of Skull Merchant making a comeback, making some type of glow up and coming back to a game. In between version 2 and version 3, I went from playing version 2 Skull Merchant nearly every single day to playing version 3 hardly at all. So if we are going to revamp the new Skull Merchant, what I personally would like to see is, I feel like we need to differentiate new Skull Merchant from past Skull Merchants. So one of the things I first noticed about Skull Merchant that I really did not like as soon as the character was introduced was the visual clash. Adriana is supposed to be a ruthless chameleon backstabber type killer, yet she walks around in a mechanical jumpsuit and a bedazzled mask. I felt like it was a really bad visual choice, because that's like two different outfit cosmetics you would never see like put together. So I would like to see the option of actually having the mask for Adriana that looks like a mechanic's mask, a welder's hood, something like that. Still like the nuclear design or something, but something not bedazzled. That would be one of the main things I would like to see as far as like cosmetics wise. Um, and one of the things that I found most frustrating that was with version 2 Skull Merchant was a lot of undeserved hits. And by undeserved hits, I mean somebody would be across the entire side of the map, and because they will walk through the drone scans, they would take an injury because they walked through too many. I don't believe that you should receive injuries from drone scans while you are not in chase. I believe you should receive injuries while you are in chase, but not while you're just going around the map fixing generators. And to make it easier for new survivors, I would like to see the drones glow white, so that new survivors can see it from across the map. And I know, for example, they were talking about adding a possibility of a drone being able to be used almost kind of as a projectile to attack survivors, which I think is a really cool and unique concept. It's kind of like a track killer mixed with a projectile killer. I do like that killer, and I think a lot of people, when they thought of Skull Merchant, they thought you could fly around as a drone or use it as some type of projectile, something like that. So I feel like having that incorporated into your kit would be a great thing. But make it easier on new survivors, I would say that drones need glow white, and the drones need to be used as a projectile. They need to be put on some type of timer. So if a drone is not interacted with, and say maybe 2 minutes, just an arbitrary number, eventually it will be able to use as a projectile to injure survivors, as like a final down mechanic. And to visually indicate that, I would make it so that the drones transition slowly from white to red, and the whole time you can see their aura. I also believe one of the core aspects that made version 2 Skull Merchant really liked by a lot of the player base was the use of status effects. So I like the concept of the status effects almost being used as a form of slowdown. And to make it not be overbearing, I would say version 2 did not need the added haste effect for each person who had a claw trap on them. I still think we should keep the claw trap mechanic on it, but just make it not do injuries, make it just slow down people, maybe a little bit less info, and to make it easier for new survivors, I would make the undetectable on Skull Merchant last a little longer. And to reward survivors into actually interacting with drones and engaging in the hacking mechanic, which I find to be the most rewarding part about playing against Skull Merchant as a survivor, I would say that the survivor who interacts with a drone, not only do they prevent the drone from going into a type of projectile mode down the line, they should immediately receive 1% haste. Nothing major, but just some haste to reward survivors. And if they do not interact with it, if they walk past that drone, they do get hindered by 1% to nothing too strong, but still be a good killer to help introduce survivors to status effects. I feel like that was one of the main pivot points that Skull Merchant had. Was she had a lot going on with her kit, but I believe it was all just a little bit too strong up against newer survivors. So I would like to still see her be able to apply those status effects and just make it so you don't have the undeserved hits, and make it so status effects are not that strong. But if you who do not interact with the drones, like, you do get a 1% hinder if you walk past a drone, and that drone can be used as a projectile down the line. There should also be some type of cooldown so that you can not constantly spam projectile drones. I think that would be very helpful and not have it so you can spam it as much. I also would like to see more of the Skull Merchant's personality come out through the drones. I feel like the drones, when they become a projectile, they should have some type of auditory cue. So for me, I would say that the auditory cue I would like to see is maybe a laughter using some type of voice changer. I feel like it would really fit Adriana and her playstyle. She's kind of chameleon in her everyday life, so using a voice changer I feel like makes sense for the killer. And also just having like the skull laugh, opening up the jaw, having like a red indicator, know that this, if I go near this place, this drone can be used as a projectile against me. I think that would kind of help out. And also it would kind of remind me of old school Doom, where some of the enemy AI would just open their mouths laughing and then just attack you. I forget the name of them. As far as the actual mechanics of the projectile, I know that some people may want the projectile to be first person, some people may want it to be third person. I feel like if you do it as first person, it will kind of look too much like either the Helmmaster or Singularity if you do it in first person. Um, I feel like Singularity should have some of Adriana's kit and vice versa. But to me, if I really got to choose what I would like, as far as a projectile for the Skull Merchant, I would like to see it be as a third person. Not like Helmmaster, where you're just shooting out snug and then you jump into the doll's perspective on like the second go around. I would like to see it as third person, and then it has some type of visual indicator that you can see through walls, almost like Chucky's footprints, as both probably the killer and survivor. And you have to quickly rotate where the drone is facing and then trigger it to fire. I think that would be a great mechanic. I almost feel like a hacker mechanic in itself, where you have to twist the joystick very quickly to do it. I think that would be great. Also, for the white drones, I would say that they need to have some type of indicator on the ground. I know a lot of survivors did not like seeing those giant walls of orange. I feel like those giant walls of orange should only trigger while you're in chase. So just having just lines on the ground circular, I feel like would be a lot less claustrophobic for new survivors. The added haste when you do a drone, the ability to remove projectiles when you do a drone, but also having it so that if you do not do that stuff, you get punished for it by being hindered, and by Skull Merchant having some projectiles. I would, of course, want like the third person projectiles. Let me go and see if I missed anything. I do think Skull Merchant should still reveal locations when she what do you call it? When you do run through a scan line. I don't believe we should get rid of claw traps at all. I just believe we should make claw traps not really injure people unless they are in chase, and keep it so that the Skull Merchant can rotate drones. I also know that Pixel Bush, his idea for improving the Skull Merchant, because he is a Skull Merchant main, is he would like to see some type of shocking mechanic when they have a claw trap on, so that they cannot drop a pallet, kind of like Doctor Stuns, which I like it to its own right, but I feel like the projectile route is the best way to go. I feel like it's kind of what the core player base has been wanting, and as long as you have ways such as white ore drones that survivors can see, and indicators to let survivors know when it's projectiles, along with rewarding that haste, I feel like it would do a lot of improvements to help the new player experience against Skull Merchant. Also, while not feeling too much different, there is a little bit of fatigue with Skull Merchant in regards to her being changed often, and quite often. But let me go back through these and see if there's anything I ended up missing, because I did read through this beforehand. I read through the whole thing. I will go back through it again though. Those when you watch scaling it, replace for subtle, and you see the red channels. Space between athletes and okay, so that is kind of what y'all were talking about, I think. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh wait, no, that's the top view. I thought it was different. I'm kind of having a hard time visualizing it. I also like the thing of stealth drones go blur. I do like how she becomes undetectable while controlling a drone. I feel like that would be awesome. A survivor drone per con lose a health state is by climate object international. Building also background facing. See, I don't like this part. I feel like this removing the background effects, I feel like it removes a lot of the core aspects of what made me love Skull Merchant. Was all her effects she can do. It wasn't even that the effects were strong. I really wouldn't mind if they would have been weaker. I just find it's a very good mechanic to have at least one killer in the game who can easily apply status effects and a variety of status effects to survivors, and that's why I loved her. Um, Dispel implement it runs dispel. I don't believe the Skull Merchant's aura should be revealed because I like how she was a zoner. And I feel like that kind of removes a lot of her zoning potential. And if she becomes a stealth trap projectile killer, I would say she has a lot more zoning potential. She was a zoning trap killer and a little bit of a stealth killer. This prevented that for a short period. Yeah, I feel like Survivor should get a greater reward where the drone does not change into a projectile and also ends up being a haste effect for survivors. Red light, green light, and this. This currently is right global detection on my power charge and lower warning plays for hours for a short period after rating survivors who actively sprints is revealed on our radar. Of course, crouching settings and all prevent detection. Getting to about stuff drones around map. That's on survivor movement. Mm, I do kind of like that too. The interesting effect of having killer be able to have an ultimate that is info relay based. I think that is pretty cool. Give me just a second here. Okay. But I don't feel like ultimates are good for a game. I feel like a lot of tension that comes with ultimates are kind of like survivors don't like having their aura revealed. I feel like one of the reasons Dredge is kind of popular killer to go against is because a lot of players don't realize that their information is being revealed by Killer Instinct. I feel like players knowing that their aura is being revealed would really make them upset and frustrated. And I don't really like the Zat aura. I think just being able to have somewhat of I wonder if they could do a reveal status effect on claw traps. That may work. But I like having powers that are more consistent, because Trickster is another killer who does have an ultimate in his main event, and survivors absolutely hate that because they feel like he has infinite knives. So I'm not a big fan of adding a big or I'm not a fan of adding ultimate onto Skull Merchant. I feel like as far as information given, I feel like if you're scanned, it should show some type of visual on you to indicate you are scan, maybe that icon, I believe from version 1 Skull Merchant, should appear to let people know that you do have the indicator on you. And let's see, tentatively we are currently evaluating talent for Skull Merchant rework, but do envision it being quite far out as our primary focus is driving quality of life updates. Once we have a timeline to share, we'll be sure to keep you informed via Divine Preview. Okay. Well, okay, I think I kind of get the gist of it. I already kind of gave my thoughts to it. I am very, very happy that Behavior actually kind of communicated to us what they're thinking about for the Skull Merchant. I'm hoping they go with my changes. They probably won't. But that's what I would do to enhance the new player experience. I just hope we get Skull Merchant fun to play again, really. Because I really did truly enjoy playing Skull Merchant from the bottom of my heart. There was a lot of love that I had for that character and all she could do. So, hopefully we'll get some type of response back. I'm not sure if we will. But that's my thoughts on Skull Merchant and the possible changes for her. So I hope to hear back from y'all and what ideas the viewers would like and what Behavior will do to keep us updated, because I do like having that open line of communication. I feel like it helps out a lot. So anyways, I will see y'all around, and I hope y'all all have a great and wonderful day. Bye bye.